Hello everyone, it is Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. Thanks for joining me on this video. Today I'm going to show you a card. I guess I'm going to call it the panel card because I don't really know what else to call it. It's featuring some of the designer series paper from the Expressions in Ink specialty designer series paper, as well as highlighting the beautiful pale papaya in color, and some of the products that are in the 2021-2022 annual catalog. So let me start just by sharing with you a couple of the products that are being featured in this card here. In fact, I think I'll just leave that out there so you're able to look at it. It is featuring the Expressions in Ink designer series paper. This is a specialty paper because one side of each design does have gold foil in it. I'm not sure if you can see it. I kind of wiggled around just a little bit. And I am featuring today this combination of patterns, which there's gold foil in the flowers here, and then also utilizing this striped gold foil paper. This Expressions in Ink paper has so many different color tones that it goes with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 different colors of cardstock that coordinate with it, along of course with basic white. And today I am focusing on actually this color, and I'm actually using one of the colors of cardstock that isn't even represented in our options here, but I think it looks quite nice with this particular paper. It is Mossy Meadow. And I like how it looks with our pale papaya too. So I could have used a different color green, but I went with that darker just to pop some of the other colors out on this one. So again, very beautiful designer paper. We've got a watercolor. It's kind of the alcohol watercolory type look on this paper, and features a lot of the ink colors that we can work with this. Absolutely stunning paper that goes with this. This paper also coordinates quite nicely with the Artistically Inked stamp set, which we will be using tonight. I'm actually using the Best Wishes greeting out of here. And then on the inside of the card, I've decorated it with this little flower image, as well as these splatter dots. In addition to the stamp set, there is a die set that coordinates very beautifully with this as well. Works nicely with the leaves and the floral images that you see on here. And I'm not using those particular dies tonight on my card, but just be aware that there is a die set that goes with this as well. So the card is featuring the Artistically Inked stamp set, along with the Expressions in Ink designer series paper. It's amazing the images that you get with these stamps. They're very detailed in terms of the degree of texture and color that you see, the varying degree from very pale to quite dark, but it's what makes these images just really pop on cards. So keep that in mind. It's a wonderful set. So again, here is my card, and just so that you can see the inside where I've stamped my images as well, just to add a little pop. So let me start by giving you the card measurements so that you've got those and you can cut it out later after the fact. To start with for this card, and I'm going to cheat and pull my notes here so I don't miss anything. I have a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece of the pale papaya cardstock that I've scored at 5 1/2. So again, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. That's the pale papaya cardstock. And then I have a 3 3/4 by 5 inch Mossy Meadow cardstock. So 3 3/4 by 5 inches Mossy Meadow. And then I've taken 3 different pieces of the designer series paper. The first piece is 2 3/8 by 3 inches. The next piece, which is going to be this small piece here, is 1 1/2 inches by 2 3/8 inches. So these two are the same width, they're just different heights. And then I have a piece of the gold stripe foil paper that is 1 inch by 4 3/4 inches. So just to repeat, the cardstock is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. The Mossy Meadow piece is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. This piece is 1 inch by 4 3/4. This piece is 2 3/8 inches by 3 inches. And this piece is 2 3 inches by 1 1/2. I also have a piece of basic white cardstock that measures 4 by 5 1/4, the typical size to go inside my card. In addition to that, you're going to need a piece of ribbon. I've used the woven ribbon. It's a 1/2 inch ribbon that's the pale papaya with a white border. This piece of ribbon is 5 inches because I'm wrapping it around my layer on here. I also need to have scraps of gold foil to punch out that shape, as well as scraps of the basic white. This is a die cut. I didn't punch it. I actually die cut it out. So the gold foil for this shape, and then scraps of your basic white to do your greetings, the best wishes greeting using pale papaya ink. And for my die cutting, I use my layering circles. And let me just clear some of this out of the way so that you can see the two. I used the smooth circle edge as well as a scallop circle edge. This particular circle measures, I want to say it's 1 3/8 inches. And this one measures 1 1/2 inches. These are both, it's the second smallest circle and the second smallest scalloped circle that comes in the layering dies. So it's about 1 3/8 and 1 1/2. But if you just remember that it's the two second smallest dies, you should be good. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you how I do the assembly. I did pre-ink everything up. I figure you guys know how to do your stamping and your inking, but I will give you a couple tips, especially on the inside of my card. So to start with, I'm simply going to fold my cardstock in half, and I will take my bone folder to get a good burnish on it. And I'm just going to set that aside for right now. Let me put this here so you can keep an eye on it. And then I'm going to take my Mossy Meadow and these 3 pieces of designer series paper. And in my particular pattern, I'm not sure that there's a strong up and down to it, but for me, I think it looks better this way, so that's the direction I'm choosing to put it. This doesn't matter at all, and obviously this isn't got any choice but to go this way. So I like to kind of lay it out ahead of time. Now, I cheat a little bit here and give myself some wiggle room. I'm most concerned that my borders are spaced the way I want them, and I'm not terribly concerned about the spacing right here because my ribbon is going to come through and cover that. So just keep that in mind as you're working on putting your pieces together. So I'm going to start and just use my seal on the strip, and the reason I'm doing the strip first is it's going to really determine my top and bottom on my layout here. And it's the easiest one to put down because obviously it's one piece. So I think I got that pretty well centered. And then I can come back through and I'm going to just put some adhesive on the back of this. There we go. Sometimes if you don't do that quick check mark, that doesn't always come off. For some reason, when I am doing my layouts like this, I almost find it easier to turn it sideways. Do what works for you, but just, I don't know, for me this seems to work the best. And then, even though I hate to cover this gold foil up, I'm gonna do it because I think it really helps to have these different patterns in here. And so again, I'm just gonna make sure I'm lining up the bottom and the sides, but not being totally concerned about the fact this gap here is a little bit bigger. Then the important thing to do is attach your ribbon before you attach this to the front of your card. So to do that, I just take a little bit of my seal and run it about where, sometimes I'm better at guesstimating, kind of where the ribbon is going to go. And now I'm just going to plop it down where I want it on the front of the card. And because I'm most concerned that I'm sure I got that gap covered, I'm going to just fold it over onto the adhesive that I put there and then repeat on the other side. And I tend not to leave a lot of overlap of my ribbon when I'm putting it on that way. Who wants to waste their ribbon on the back side of a card? Not me. So the next step I'm going to do is just add my seal to this piece of my card. I know it looks like I'm putting a lot on, but it wasn't coming out necessarily in all of the spaces there. All right, and then this I'm going to center. I've got a 1/4 inch border for the most part around here, so usually it's more of 1/8 of an inch for my layers, but today I wanted to kind of have the centerpiece pop out a little bit more. All right, and then the next thing I'm going to do is, like I said, I've got my circle using these 2 dies, and I've just stamped it with Best Wishes. I did pre-stamp and then die cut my greeting out. And so I'm just going to run a piece of adhesive on the back and then center it. These are very close in size. There's only 1/8 of an inch difference, but they stack very nicely with those scallops, and I thought the gold kind of popped out, the gold then that was in our design here. And I'm just going to attach this with 2 dimensionals. Now when I attach my greetings to the card, when I've got a ribbon, I like to put my glue dots, or my dimensionals, sorry, on the top and bottom of my greeting, and that way they're kind of over the ribbon instead of attaching to the ribbon. So I'm just going to pop one here and one here, and then I'll peel off and just going to kind of attach this here. It's just a little bit crooked. All right, a little bit better. And then I get to come back to my card front. Oh, I have it right in front of me. To my card, and we'll go ahead and we'll attach the inside of the card. Now for this, I always like to put a little bit of decoration on the inside of my card, so I just used the small floral flower in here, which that stamped real well. They did my 3 images. And then I used this stamp, which is, it's a really small stamp, and I either have a freshly inked pad, or it's just the particular stamp and how I ink up, but I kept catching my edges. So when I did this, I'm just going to warn you ahead of time, check each time to make sure you don't have the edge of the stamp caught in the ink, because if you do, you're going to end up, you know, just watch for your edge marks, because you will end up with them on the paper and then you'll get frustrated. So learn from my lesson, and I found I could get 2 done, and then I'd have to wipe it off on my chamois, and I could do a couple more before I had to wipe it off on the chamois again. So just keep that in mind so that you're not getting edges. If you do, thankfully there's 2 sides to the cardstock, and you can flip it over and easily have, I was going to say this isn't one that I did that on, but easily be able to flip it over and use the back side. I did have one piece where I actually caught an edge on my flower, so I flipped it over, and the very first dot splatter thing I stamped, I caught the edge there too. But I still have, this is going into my scrap bin because I've still got a lot of usable basic white. I'm not going to throw that paper out. I just can't use part of it. And then to finish off this card, I want to put a little bit of a gem on here just to add a little more sparkle. On this card, I used the green tone, and on this one, I think I'm going to pop a peach in, and we'll figure out. You can kind of go either way on it. I kind of thought the green might stand out a little bit more. Obviously, the more peachy tone is going to pick up the pale papaya color in here, but I think either one works, even though they're not quite the same tone. So there is a quick and easy panel card. If you have any questions on this, be sure to just post in the comments or contact me directly via my Facebook page, and I would be happy to help you with measurements or anything else on that. Thanks everyone. Have a great time and have fun crafting your card. Bye-bye.